Hey, what's up, Team Tip Performance, and we're back at the shop and continuing work on Chavo's C10. Where were we at last time? I think I was starting like to get the AC stuff together. I was waiting on a bunch of parts, but I had to get a light. Basically, it's little by little, each time I get a part. I took the intake tube off to finish painting it and everything, because that's all done. But I went ahead and I got all the AC fittings and everything, made up the lines, put a new orifice tube, a new accumulator, which I had to change the fitting here. The threads were different. They were like a newer metric style or something thread. I don't know all that jibber jabber stuff. Put a little power steering fluid in it. It's got a couple of gallons of water and antifreeze. The dipstick tube is here. That's sitting over there in that long box. So I should be able to start and run the truck. I mean, I've started it a couple of times because I was having a little weird issue with the handheld. The ECU, everything would come on like it's supposed to. The handheld would kind of flicker, like blink almost, which I've never had that happen before. And it was actually my 12-volt signal to the ECU. For whichever reason, and it could be that there's resistors on the inside, could be that there's something else going on the inside with the wiring, but each wire I would hook to would drop voltage down to like 8 volts. As soon as I keyed on, it would drop to 8 volts as soon as it turned the ECU on. So I took and ran it to a relay, which I mounted right there on the wall. So now it's feeding direct battery over to the ECU once the key is on. The key on just triggers a relay. Then the ground, I just ran it up behind the relay to the firewall. There's like not a lot of ohm resistance to that firewall because I do have a bunch of grounds running to the frame, to everywhere. So that solved that problem, and then I started it just real quick. Truck actually fired right off, just to make sure that it would keep the 12-volt signal once it was in crank position. I honestly didn't think it would start as fast as it did, but it did. So I immediately shut the truck back off. So I know it runs. So I'm going to go ahead and get that transmission dipstick put in. Everything's dark. Need more light. But I'm going to go ahead and get the transmission dipstick put in real quick. I got to pull the truck forward and get it back up on the lift. And I'll have to make a little bit of a modification to it. I've used this exact dipstick a few times now. And hold on one second. Have a razor knife here. Let me put this here. I can't. I'm gonna set this down right here for now. Something like that. So this is the dipstick I use. It's from All-Star Performance. I get them off of Amazon. They're fairly cheap, but they're really nice They have the locking tab at the top, and they're actually accurate dipsticks. A lot of aftermarket dipsticks are not that accurate, and like 2 or 3 of these when I first got them, I researched online like how you measure from the bottom of the pan to the height of the fluid it's roughly like a ½ inch, not from the bottom of the pan, it's the bottom of the transmission body, like where the pan seats. So it's the pan seat, it's, I believe it was ½ inch or 3/4 of an inch. If you look it up online, it tells you. So I always try and do all my research when I can. But the only issue I have with these is the mounting tab off the side. So you know, a lot of LS's, most LS's, they don't have the 3rd bolt hole up on a valve body. It's actually blocked off. So like on this block here, hiya. So dark. So on this block here, this on a small block Chevy is a bolt hole, threaded bolt hole, just like all the other block holes. And this dipstick tube mounts to that. So this dipstick will work great with like a small block Chevy, a big block Chevy, something like that. It would bolt right up. But when you come to, like, you know, it would be here. On this is a Power Glide, I know, but it would be here. But in reality, you need to go to this bolt hole. So all I do is I take that tab, I cut it off, I flip it to this side. I use a 4L80 housing. It's like a bear housing that I have laying around. It's not like a bear housing, it is a bear housing. So I keep this laying around for mock-up. It's completely empty. It is a good case, but it's the older. I don't believe it has the rear lube. No, it doesn't have the rear lube fitting. So I prefer the rear lube fitting on 4L80s. So I just keep this one around to mock up in cars. It's really easy to do, you know, it's empty. It has the tail housing on it, so I can do transmission mounts and all that stuff, pop them in and out real quick. So I take this and I stab it in, and then you know, whereas it would go to here, obviously on the other side, but it would go to there. It needs to be cut off and move down to this one. And once I get it lined up, don't you dare, then I know, you know, all is good. So I'm going to get that done real quick and then be right back. Okay, so basically this is what I did. With the dipstick tube was I cut the old tab off and took a piece of like 16 gauge. It's basically like the same as this. Crap. You know, they're pretty much the same thickness. I have panels of it, and I cut a strip, you know, inch or so wide, and I started with welding it to the tube up here. Basically just a few tacks on there, and then take a pair of pliers and twist it to where it's shaped to the hole, the bolt hole on the bell housing. And then I finished welding that, and then kind of basically just turned it over, cut it, kind of shaped it, and then took a drill bit and basically went straight through there. And what goes in pretty much every one I've ever taken out, they're studs in the whole bell housing that are like this right here. So you got the main bolt that goes into the block, and then it has the smaller thread that comes out the bell housing, sticks out of the bell housing. and it's this way on every bolt, like I said. So that'll go in there and be bolted tight to the block. I'm not gonna be able to do this with one hand, I bet. And then basically you would probably be easier in the vehicle with two hands, but you would shove your shove the dipstick in there. You get the idea, pretty much. I can't do it with one hand. I just can't do it, Captain. So, it would go in there, something like that. Yeah. So it would go on there, and then the nut would come from the back side, catch it. But this is what I was saying. The benefit of having this transmission housing is I could do multiple things with it, and it's not one that I think I would ever need to use. It is a good housing, other than the bottom might be a little scuffed up from bouncing around, but it's not one that I would ever use. So I'm going to go ahead. I got to push the truck back forward on the lift and throw it back up in the air. And I'm going to get this dipstick down. I might try to feed it down, but I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to. But I'm going to try doing that first. I'll put the camera on the tripod over there. I need to get a light for the top of the camera. So I'm going to set this up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I took the tube, I got a light and everything, hopefully it works better. And you can see it against the firewall right there. So I kind of just stuck it down in there. I'm going to have to crawl underneath, so I kind of didn't want to crawl around. But I'm going to crawl under there, see if I can get it lined up. So I got it lined up in the transmission. I gotta get it pushed down. So I don't know if you were able to hear the click, but that was it actually going onto the bolt. Gotta find the nut. We got the nut, and I just grabbed the wrench while I'm here. I might as well tighten it, and it's done. And it ran across guards. Okay,